What does Apple's new AI for Everyone tool have to do with in vitro fertilization? I'm Charlie, I study technology ethics, and I wrote my master's thesis on teaching machines to make moral compromises. Let's look into Apple and whether this AI for Everyone is good or bad. Today we're going to look at privacy, exclusion, and in vitro fertilization through the lens of these two scholars, both of whom, incidentally, are on Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People in AI. So if you don't have time to read these books, here's some little snippets. The first distinction worth making here is that Face ID is not the same thing as facial recognition. Facial recognition is usually associated with law enforcement. You see it most commonly in like action movies where the government is trying to track down some super dangerous person and they use facial recognition technology to find them quickly. But this can go wrong and often does go wrong. The more that we deploy this technology, the more false arrests that occur as a result of it not working correctly. Robert Williams was eventually released, but he was arrested in front of his young daughters. You can Control-Z a few lines of code, but when your lines of code are locking people up, your code is starting to do indelible harm. O'Neill and Noble are scribbled in the margins because they are among the scholars that have continued to prove that these AI systems are biased against Black people. And not just Black people, but also women. These systems are consistently biased against women. They're also biased against the trans community. And when these systems are making medical decisions, they can be life or death. Almost every life or death thing is regulated. You need a license to practice medicine. You need a license to build a bridge that people will drive over. You need a license to even drive because life or death things require regulation. We do not license people to code, and that is kind of a problem. Which brings us back to privacy. There is good news in the Apple event because Apple is publicly pushing for a Face ID model of AI where the information is kept on the phone privately as opposed to a facial recognition model of AI where there is a large database of private and sensitive information. But not every phone or iPad is powerful enough to do this kind of on-device processing. And so Apple announced this private cloud compute system. Apple claims that this private cloud computing is a way to do AI in the cloud, but keep your information private and safe. As someone who's trying to develop expertise in this field, I think this is technically possible, but I haven't had time to verify Apple's claims, and I will study it and get back to you as soon as I can. The reason there is a white mask on the front of this book is because Dr. Joy Buolamwini was working at MIT on facial recognition models, and she tried to use the facial recognition on herself, but the machine did not see her because it was trained on white male faces, and she is a Black woman with dark skin. This video will get too long if I explain too many examples of why this is a problem, but one notable one is that if you cannot be perceived correctly by a machine, a self-driving car might run into you unless you're in whiteface. Buolamwini is a poetic writer, and she continues to return to the image of not being perceived by the machine, not having your humanity recognized by the machine broadly construed. Like I said in one of my previous videos, you can't ask ChatGPT what indigenous languages are not represented on the internet, because ChatGPT is trained on the data that is on the internet. There are blind spots that can be filled by improving a machine learning model. Facial recognition models are getting better and can get better, but some digital bones are buried beyond our reach. Yes, there were people who we know were falsely accused via facial recognition, but here's a quote to chill your spine a little. I think about, quote, others we may never hear from or who may never know facial recognition technologies had a hand in their arrests. It is good that Apple is trying to develop a private cloud computation architecture. But it doesn't matter whether you use the Face ID model or the facial recognition model of AI when your story was never integrated into the data set to begin with. Sometimes injustice is buried too deep to ever be seen from the cloud. Philosophers have a word for the erasure or willful ignorance around the stories of marginalized people. It is called testimonial injustice. I actually just filmed for about an hour on Verity Harding's AI Needs You and the relationship to regulating AI. I'm actually quite excited to talk about it because I found a lot of connections to Samantha Power's book, The Education of an Idealist, with the sort of pragmatism that is necessary to regulate AI. But I ran out of time and I can't fit even a summary into this video, except to say that the space race and nuclear weapons and in vitro fertilization and the invention of the internet, we have been inventing technologies left and right that we think will change humanity forever. AI is not the first time, and it would be better for us to look to history for the examples of when we have regulated this in the past. What did the regulation of the space race look like? What did IVF regulation look like in England? We have success stories. We don't have to start from scratch. That's what this book is about. I will be covering it in future videos. Patreon remains the best way to support. You can also buy these books through the affiliate links in my bio. Thank you to everyone who watched all the way to the end. I look forward to reading your comments, and I look forward to restarting my upload schedule after my pretty significant hiatus. Thank you to everyone for your kind words before. I'll make a whole separate video about that. Okay, have a good one. Happy reading. Enjoy your whatever. This book's really good. I'm going to talk about it later. I also read this book, and it was really good. I'm going to talk about it later if I have time. I'm probably going to run out of time. Thanks for your eyeballs and your cerebral occipital lobes. Bye.